Welcome back. Time now to Get Real. And tonight I'm doing things a little differently. In a minute, we're going to be joined by my friend Chris Farrell from Judicial Watch to discuss this topic. But I wanted to set things up for you first from my perspective. I'm 45 years old, so I wasn't around during the 40s and the 50s and the whole McCarthy years and those hearings that involved the communist blacklist. But I did listen to my grandmother and my teachers growing up. And in my adult life, I've done my research. And with that said, I'm noticing something that maybe you, the viewers out there, have noticed too. And that's the similarities between what happened back then and what's happening today, which I believe shows the true hypocrisy of the radical left in our modern society. Those lists that were created over 70 years ago are similar to the lists we see in the mainstream media today. Yeah, that's right. They're using them to call out Republicans, or the lists that are being made up of Trump supporters by left-wing radical officials like AOC. Yeah, remember that tweet there? And also the constant online doxing that they're doing to conservatives on social media platforms. These leftist punks are literally painting a target on conservatives who go against any of their narrative. It is disgusting and it is downright dangerous. They are putting people's lives, the lives of their family, their children, and their livelihoods at risk. All for what? For not agreeing with their politics. How did we get here, folks? You know that old phrase that we've all been taught? Those who do not learn from their past are doomed to repeat it. Well, it appears that right now the left has forgotten our country's past because their actions are dangerously reckless and undemocratic. The tracking and creating lists of fellow Americans who don't share the same ideology? It's not the America I know and love. Joining me now with more on exactly how ironic all of this is the Director of Investigations over at Judicial Watch, our friend here at One America News, Chris Farrell. Chris, thanks for joining me here for my rant at the end of the show. How are you doing, sir?
Great to be with you. Thanks.
So, you've looked into stuff for decades. Judicial Watch is all about tracking. And so when I called you earlier today, I knew that you would know more than me. And you've only got a couple years on me, so you know a little bit more about history than me as well. So I just wanted to kind of get your take on my feeling looking back and seeing how when communism was on the rise in the late 40s into the 50s in this country, and you had McCarthy and Republicans back then, some making lists of Hollywood celebs and then just other Americans that were potentially communists, we saw the downfall of that. People were getting blacklisted that shouldn't have. Their businesses, their lives were being ruined. And fast forward to today, and you have folks on the left who are spouting out socialism and communism, now making lists and trying to ruin the lives of conservatives who are just being patriotic and want to keep the America that we know and love in check and keep democracy alive. Isn't that so ironic?
There are some great ironies here. First of all, the dirty little secret is that in large part, Senator McCarthy was correct, and the people that he identified as being communists were in fact communists. The listing was done by the Hollywood industry, by the movie industry, people reporting on each other within Hollywood. So it wasn't so much Senator McCarthy's work. Senator McCarthy was, of course, a tragically a tragic figure. He died at 48 years old, an alcoholic death. Whatever his personal foibles may be, a lot of his work concerning communist infiltration of the FDR White House and other government agencies was in fact true and accurate.
Yeah, it was very warranted for the time because there were communists invading the administration, invading our country.
The irony now is that we see this next step in the cancel culture. The left loves using cancel culture as a way to silence their opponents. And in this case, groups like the Lincoln Project is running around trying to intimidate law firms into not providing legal services to President Trump and other politicians who are challenging election results. Look, in America, you're allowed to have an attorney. Serial killers and drug dealers get attorneys. Why can't a politician who wants to exercise the law and challenge an election, why can't he have an attorney? Well, they're not interested in that. This is like Stasi tactics. This is out of East Germany, the kind of stuff they're doing. And it's very corrosive to the Constitution. It's very dangerous. And this really turns all of our traditions on their head. And the left is quite comfortable with that. They like that kind of intimidation.
Yeah, and like what you were alluding to back in the 40s and 50s, that it was more Hollywood elitists and regular folks doing it. That's what's happening today. It's radical, left-wing, regular Americans who are doing it online, doxing people. I saw our good friend, actor Scott Baio, did a tweet this morning that said literally, just in the last week or so, him supporting the president and these recounts and the verification of a real, free, and legal election. They've now been doxing him, his kids, where they go to school, his wife, where she works. I mean, this is insane what they're doing. They are literally putting conservatives' lives in danger just because we don't see eye to eye on politics. When's the last time we saw a bunch of conservatives do that to liberals? I sure as heck don't do it.
And we know what happened when a Bernie supporter went after Republican congressional members at a baseball diamond and fired up the baseball diamond, nearly killing Representative Scalise and injuring others.
Right. That was a radical leftist that shot Scalise. Yeah.
Correct. I mean, that's
I thought only conservatives had guns and shot people, though.
Say that again, please.
I thought only conservatives had guns and shot people. Isn't that what the left says? The narratives that are out there, Chris. I had a SOT, when we say SOT, people at home don't understand what that means, sound on tape, a soundbite that I wanted to play from President Reagan, who this was the late 40s when he said this during those Senate hearings. So he was then just actor Ronald Reagan, not even governor yet, of course. And what he said, I think, is very poignant, very insightful for what's happening right now today, where you should be allowed in our democratic society with free speech, which we still kind of have. It depends if you're on social media or wherever, that you have to have all sides. That means if you've got someone spouting communism, someone spouting capitalism, socialism, whatever it may be, that's what a free society and a democratic society and a republic is about. You're allowed to have that free speech and say it. And what he says right at the end of this, it's only 30, 40 seconds. I want to play that and get your thoughts on what Reagan said back then.
Not like to see any political party outlawed on the basis of its political ideology, because we've spent 170 years in this country on the basis that democracy is strong enough to stand up and fight for itself against the inroads of any ideology, no matter how much we may disagree with it. But at the same time, I never, as a citizen, want to see our country become so, or become urged by either fear or resentment of this group that we ever compromise with any of our democratic principles through that fear or resentment.
Well, we agree with that.
I still think that democracy can do it.
We agree with that. We agree with that. Thank you very much.
And there's the irony, there's the hypocrisy. Let them have their speech about communism, Reagan was saying, but he knew that democracy would win over and that you can't be stomping out somebody else's beliefs or whatever they want to say because of freedom of speech and our democratic society. But that is exactly what the left is doing today. Conservatives, sit down, shut up, be quiet, or else we will ruin you. We will make lists and we will ruin your life.
Yeah, the danger here is that we get involved in a race to the bottom, right? So what goes around comes around. And so the next election cycle has a different result. And then do we make more lists then? And then do we go after other people? I mean, this is a turning point for the country with respect to our ability to engage in civil society, all the normal practices that we're used to. You know, we can agree to disagree and then just walk away. This is not what we're talking about here. This is targeting. This is really vicious police state mentality, and it has to be rejected.
You got it. And we can never lower ourselves to what the radical left is doing. And I love throwing this one, and we'll end on this, Chris, throwing it right back in their face. I will use Michelle Obama's famous phrase, when they go low, we go high. So conservatives out there, remember, as these left-wing radicals continue to attack our conservative voices, just say, I agree to disagree, like Chris just said. I've been saying it for decades. Chris Farrell, Judicial Watch, thanks for coming on, man. Help us wrap up the show here tonight. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
That's going to do it for Real America tonight. We thank you for tuning in so much. If you'd like to send us a message, sound off, whether it's good or bad, there you go. My Twitter handle. You can get a hold of us on Facebook, send us an email, check us out online. And by the way, we know that millions of folks out there have been running away from that one cable network, Fox. So as you tune in to One America News, we appreciate it. If you're trying to find us, you're watching this some other version online, but you're not watching it live all the time every day like you'd like to, contact Dish Network, your cable provider, and say, put One America News on. Demand it. Get it. We'll see you tomorrow, same time, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. Until then, folks, be proud, be safe, and God bless.